Hello and welcome back to the Exclu magazine YouTube platform. As ever, I'm Jack. I'm your host for today's show, and a big thank you for tuning in. We're going to be kicking off a brand new industry interview series across the platform, not only on YouTube but also on our website. And we are actually delighted to kick things off in a pretty big way. We're going to welcome in the president and co-founder of The Loyal Subjects, Mr. Jonathan Cathey. So we can bring him in right now and say, hey, how's it going, Jonathan? You okay?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Yeah, all
Thank
good.
you for
Really
Good
excited.
morning.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Evening for us, morning for you. So again, a huge thank you for taking time out of your Saturday morning and on Halloween as well. So that is obviously when we are recording today. So wow, let's kind of just ease in. So to give people a bit of context now, we last spoke back in May 2019. For us, it was the London Comic-Con, and at that point in time, amongst other things, we were speaking about the 10th anniversary of Loyal Subjects, which you celebrated in that year. So for those who perhaps haven't been on that journey with you and are perhaps only now starting to come around to your products, particularly with your new line, which we're going to talk about today, how would you describe your platform to those people who are just now coming in fresh?
We've been a collectibles company for the last 11 years. I would say starting as a collectibles company, now emerging as sort of a mid-cap toy company.
Right.
And it's kind of like an anything company. We're really an art house. We're talented and creative. So we develop products, we tell stories, we create characters, create worlds. That's sort of our forte. And then I think we being that the majority of us are creatives, we're artists. It's an artist-driven or artist-run business, really, which is a little bit different than toy, where toy is really a transactional business with a creative arm.
Yeah.
This is really a creative enterprise, and then the transactions are the icing on the cake, right? But we started off. We were working with a lot of artists and friends here in LA that were pop surrealist artists that had some traction, some fanship, and like local galleries and small followings and things like that. We're producing really limited run sort of these big vinyl bulbs with a lot of deco on them, and maybe only doing 100 pieces, 200 pieces, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And so we kind of graduated. I kind of graduated from that. The forms are really crude. They're just roto bulbs. The art is really is matching up the deco. It's just like
right. Yeah.
I mean, really, it's really not that difficult of a format. So I wanted to challenge ourselves a little bit and go further past it. So we started getting into licensing and making, essentially like chibi-esque products, kind of deformed miniature products.
Yeah.
And unlike most of the chibi products at that time, there wasn't a lot of articulation. Maybe it was just the head went back and forth and arms went side to side, and everything kind of had a scooped sort of marshmallow body. And so we're like, let's put things into somewhat proportion, take a real miniature format and give it articulation, which is actually hard. It's extraordinarily difficult because the parts and the pins, the assembly, all these pieces are really tiny,
Yeah.
So we created a platform called Action Vinyls, which is basically just like a licensed smorgasbord of, pop culture properties, nostalgia, TV, cartoon, original toy properties. And we mashed it up into a universe where they all interact. So it's like Super Mario, it's Super Smash Brothers, but like, in toy form.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
So we've done that and we continue to do that. We have, a lot of awesome products still coming out on the Action Vinyl front. But, I think we were about 6 million figures sold later.
Wow.
On the Action Vinyls, which is rare because it's more of a niche market. But it's like, think about it, one that went 6-time platinum. I mean, that's a big deal, right?
That is insane. Yeah.
So it's we have a lot of fanship, really sort of diehard supporters. Guys that really follow the brand closely. I think we sort of operate our brand like a surf skate brand. So it's like culture. It's like a brand culture, and sort of like, the fealty to a brand, and this idea of, I grew up in Laguna Beach. So I was entrenched in surf and skate. So it's like, there's guys that wore Quicksilver trunks and there's guys that wore gotcha trunks. There's guys that wear Volcom trunks. So it was like, you know, which brand do you buy?
Yeah.
You know, Volcom's kind of the dark, cool, edgy dudes. Gotcha's kind of, you know, hip, glossy. Quicksilver is like mainstream.
Yeah.
I was more, you know, Volcom or Gotcha kind of guy.
Yeah.
So we were, you know, being around surf skate my entire life, I kind of assembled this brand with that attitude. You know, that's sort of like brand first idea.
Yeah.
And so like bring people in close to the brand, and then they could connect to the products. And our products primarily story driven products where, you know, you interact and play. You know, I think we were one of the first companies to really zero down on a play pattern for a collector.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much like, you know, put stuff on the shelf, you know, let it collect dust, walk away from it, and, you know, look at your little toy museum. That's not what we were about. You know, we were about, you know, play, exercise your imagination, tell your own stories, make up your own stories, do your own stop motion, you know, interact with toys, because toys are sort of, you know, they're idols in a certain, like an idol, like a meaning in the, you know, the antiquity sense of it's an object, it holds energy, and then, you know, in our case,
I follow. Yeah,
pop culture nostalgia energy.
Yeah, I'd say especially when you consider, you know, this year as well. I think that, you know, is even more important, isn't it, to have that some kind of creative outlet, to have an outlet, you know, whether it is, as you say, you know, whether you are collecting figures which do just sit on the shelf, or whether you do kind of go a bit further into it. I know when we spoke before, we spoke about toy photography, and that was a big part of, you know, our platform and how we encourage people to kind of get really creative with the figures. And like you say, you know, that's obviously coming through in the products that you create. You have kind of touched on it there as well. My point I wanted to kind of just talk about as well in this kind of introductory section is it's how your attitude is currently towards your existing vinyl series. You know, when we first met, and before I'd spoken to you, actually managed to meet people who were waiting to meet you, because I know you were going to come and attend the booth, and I had a chance to kind of chat with those guys. And as you say, there is a culture. There's a very consolidated community of collectors for Loyal Subjects products, and that was really apparent speaking to them, just how much passion they had for the line. So, you know, that's still something you're going to be supporting. You know, the vinyl series is still something very much part of your plans going forward.
Yeah. Everything kind of has a different lane, you know. So action vinyls is really culture, collector, and there's a collectability factor because we have like rare chase figures and, you know, really rare figures, and so that attracts a certain kind of collector, right?
Yeah.
You know, guys that like the rush and finding something that's rare, that, you know, it has a whole like third party ecosystem and eBay system, which I don't understand. I've never even had an eBay account.
Same.
So, you know, that's you know, a lot of the fans are much more tuned in than I am.
Yeah.
I have no idea how they price it, and I have no idea why some of these things are the values they are. It's just its own culture at this point, right?
Yeah, they do. They take on their own ecosystem completely.
Yeah, so which is cool. It's cool. There's like, you know, we launched a bunch of products, and now there's another marketplace for all these products.
Right. Yeah.
It's really interesting, you know. But yeah, so we have that collector culture, and then we have a toy culture, you know, which in a toy culture is really about, in Best Action, it's an action figure disruptor. So it's like anybody that's into pop culture, you know, it's a real value driven product. It's, you know, it has a sort of Japanese action figure detail, like 31 points of articulation, but then it has in all those like sculpt details, nuances, interchangeable hands.
Yeah.
And then it has that really sort of dialed in price point, $15.99 USD. So it's really a dynamic offering. So it's, you know, our plan is to take over the shelves at retail with a splash of everything. So it's not just like a Marvel statement or DC statement, and here's 15 versions of Batman, you know, Batman zombie, Batman vampire, Batman this, Guess what? Here's 51 properties in all action figure form, and it's a giant. Again, we really are about these, like, you know, Super Smash Brother ideas. It just like, because that's how kids played with toys back in the day. It's
100%. Yeah.
You know, you just had the Star Wars guys hanging on one side. You had Star Wars and G.I. Joe guys coming in with the mask guys and all that stuff. and the He-Man guys. They all sort of mashed up, except the He-Man guys were like giants then, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, so we're doing that for action figures. We're giving it, we have a very lean price point. So it's easy, you know, it's easy to get involved. But that is an everybody program, you know?
Right.
If
Yeah.
you like anime, if you like nostalgia, if you like rock and roll, if you like TV and movie, if you like sci-fi, we got you, you know?
Yeah.
So I think collectors will grab to it because collectors, by and large, are action figure enthusiasts.
Yeah.
So if they like action figures, they'll just go get them, right?
Yeah.
But it's this one's particular you know, for everybody. It's not necessarily just for the toy hunters, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that does really come through as well. You know, particularly when you're looking at the range of characters that you're presenting. You know, in this first wave, you know, of the best action release, that does really, you know, that does really shine through. So I will, yeah, so we will work our way towards best action in a lot more depth. I really do want to, you know, go to town on that and, you know, really explore all aspects of it. Before we do get there, I do want to have another point, which I think is kind of. I sat thinking about it today before we come on. And I thought, you know, everything that's going on, and again, we spoke very briefly before coming on air about the pandemic and how, you know, that's affecting the industry that we, you know, we're a part of. And again, to go back to our interview that we had in 2019, I asked you then about the importance of your team at Loyal Subject, and then you described it. You know, you described your team as a village. So I really wanted to kind of just bring it up again with you in relation to 2020. You know, how's 2020 challenged that aspect of your team? I guess you perhaps been working remotely as well, so that's obviously added a little bit more, you know, difficulties perhaps into your processes.
Yeah, so you know, I might start this company and might be the spokesperson for the company, but it's, you know, I'm literally just one of many team members, you know.
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah.
The Loyal Subjects is a group effort. It's like no one person does everything. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's like I have extraordinarily talented people that work with us, talented creatives, talented sculptors, talented senior graphic designer. Actually, one of our employees is texting me right now. That's
yeah.
And she's a rock star. I mean, it's, you know, it would be hard to operate without her. She really, you know, heart and soul of the business. So it's like and then we have our China team, and then we have everybody that works on the product. So to make one thing happen, it's like, it really kind of goes through like 100 hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is an intense effort. So I might be out there in front talking, but it's, you know, credit goes to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's this giant team effort. So when this happened, I came back from Toy Fair in New York. You know, it had a great Toy Fair, really exciting, a lot of developments.
Yeah.
And then I was here for maybe 1 or 2 days, and I had to go to Bentonville, Arkansas for a Walmart meeting.
Right.
I came back here, I think it was maybe March 6th. I got home. March 13th, we were locked down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, and the whole thing was kind of weird. Like, I was in Singapore December 6th. I was in Hong Kong January 3rd. I was in Germany January 28th, and I was in New York, you know, February 25th. So I was in every single hotspot.
Yeah, it sounds like
all this stuff blew up like in and around those times. And lo and behold, you know, thank God.
Yeah. Wow, considering,
I sort of squeaked through, right?
Yeah.
And then, so when I got back on the 6th, and then we got the this, you know, basically stay-at-home orders from our mayor with Garcetti, and then, you know, from the governor over here in California, Newsom.
Yeah.
I told my team one thing. It's like, okay, you know, when I started business, there wasn't a break glass in case of pandemic handbook.
Yeah, that's been great, isn't it? Yeah.
We're going to figure this out. You know, thank God Silicon Valley had figured this out a long time ago, you know, things like Slack and Salesforce and, you know,
of course. Yeah.
You know, Zoom and Google Hangouts and all these things. So Silicon Valley really had everybody's back to set this thing up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And do it almost seamlessly. It really is kind of a testament to where tech is.
Yeah.
So my thing was, look, we're going to keep everybody. I'm not going to shrink the staff. We're going to keep everybody. That's my goal. And then goal number 2, we keep everybody on healthcare. Obviously, pandemic, so it's like everybody needs that healthcare still.
Yeah.
And then goal 3 is figure out a way to expand the business. When by March 13th, the realization set in that 5,500 of our stores closed.
Yeah, that's the thing,
like
isn't it?
Specialty's gone, everything's gone. We had these really good opportunities cooking with the essential retailers like Walmart and Target, and some of our international markets that still had activity were going pretty good.
Yeah.
So we were able to toggle that focus to these essential retailers, the guys that were open, as specialty started coming back online. So yeah, it was it's like being a Russian circus bear juggling chainsaws.
Yeah.
But to the testament to the team, everybody stepped up and stepped into the opportunity, and everybody's worked harder, and there's a lot of pride in the work here. I know the entire team takes extraordinary pride in what they do, and I think there is flexibility from working at home. I think people enjoy it. I think what's going to be hard is getting people back into the office.
I agree with you there.
Harder to sell.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess sticking, with the idea of the team and sticking with the idea, of the pandemic, like I said, the beginning, it's the elephant in the room. It's really kind of difficult, I think, to discuss, our community, our industry, without, bringing it up and kind of having a bit of a drill down into how it's been affecting things. But for you guys in particular, as you kind of alluded to there, you're launching an action figure line during a global pandemic. That's the long and short of it. And as you say, there are opportunities which perhaps would have already been there for you in a retail sense, which are now, closed off to you. So how kind of far along, were you with Best Action when, I think when it began to set in that actually some of your plans, particularly around the launch of that and the retail environment, were going to be kind of threatened. So, how far along were you with that?
We were pretty far along. So it's, I think part of it's just luck too.
Right.
We had the right volume retail partner to back us up.
Yeah.
And we were already in sort of on pace in that development schedule and that buying cycle.
Right.
So we got lucky. I mean, some of it is just luck, pure luck, just dumb luck.
Yeah.
And we had the anchor, that was moving along, and that was kind of the bulk of the ordering. And then that linked up with our timetable we already had. China came back online in February.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that was right after Toy Fair, when you really sort of cemented, all of what you're going to do, and for fall and for holiday, and then spring 2021. So we had a lot of that mojo happening already.
Yeah.
Dumb luck, man.
Yeah.
Where it fell off, where a business cut off, was what we call at-once opportunities, which are just, smaller retailers going, hey, do you have this? And you just, ship it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that disappeared entirely. And so we went into more of these set dates with these larger retailers of blocks of inventory, and then how to manage that inventory block and replenishment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it is a much more sort of like ballet style proposition. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But all the guys, like even Hot Topic Specialty, they're kind of at once. Like, hey, if you got something cool, we want it. I mean, they have budgets per month.
Yeah.
That kind of open up and or fill up, or open up and fill up kind of thing.
Yeah. Right.
But so we lost those guys: Hot Topic, GameStop, Box Lunch, basically all the specialty retailers. Those guys were gone. And then obviously the toy industry's had a lot of sort of shrinkage, with Toys R Us disappearing, and these sort of standalone toy stores just going the way of the dinosaurs. Which I think there's actually a good opportunity to bring that back, by the way. Yeah. Not by us. I don't have the cash to do it, but but so those, that part of that business was like, okay, well, let's just focus on where we're really driving this business. And
Yeah.
so we really focused down on that. So, first and second quarter, not going to lie, it was lean, man.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, again, that's really interesting to hear. I think so. So if again, that's the kind of mindset and that's how things played out for you in a kind of retail and an inventory mindset. How did the situation affect your plans on a PR and a marketing front? Did you have plans to introduce product? And obviously, I know you sent out a press release, but did you have perhaps plans that revolved around conventions as a way to introduce this line, or were you always planning on doing it away from conventions and then debuting product perhaps later on?
We were planning on making this a big retail splash. So it's like,
Right.
you're on shelf. We have, a great partner in Walmart, great partner in Target. Let's get it on shelf. Great retail presentation because it's on peg. It's just like right eye level.
Yeah.
You can't miss it. It's just like,
Yeah.
boom, there they are, action figures, best action. And so we really wanted to focus that energy to those guys because they're going to make a big splash. So if it's
Yeah,
successful
of
there, it's
course.
going to be successful everywhere, right? But yeah, Comic-Con, we had a virtual Comic-Con, and actually it was really well. We sold out of all the products, same thing
Oh,
as we
awesome.
do in person. The only thing that kind of stunk is we like seeing people.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the bedrock, isn't it?
we like interacting with a lot of the people that come to San Diego. We know them, so I could
Yeah.
probably go up and down that line and say hello, and I probably know everybody's name.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I talk to them all the time.
yeah,
I'm a pretty engaged owner. I don't really separate myself, operationally. It's like I want to know what the word on the street is, and I want to walk around with people. I want to
yeah,
get their temperature, and sometimes, I even throw it back to them when they dish it to me.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it is sort of a unique way to interact with the customer base, but I think it's, I'm basically one of them too.
yeah. No,
There's no
I
division. It's like I like stuff too, man. I'm a big Ramones fan. I'm a big rock and roll guy. It's like
yeah,
big Magic Johnson fan. It's like, so I like to nerd out on things and get down and deep, and so I
yeah.
like to walk around and talk to these people and see what it's all about.
And that's the thing, like you say, it is that lack of a physical opportunity just to kind of, reaffirm some of them bonds. And it goes back to the point we made in the opening, about the culture of all subjects and how you've kind of built up over time. And a big part of that is, your relationship with the community. And again, before I kind of spoke to you last year, again, when I was, interacting with people, as you say, queuing up to check out the products and, to come and meet you as well. Um, yeah, they're more than happy to voice opinions. It is a fantastic opportunity and a fantastic forum for them to do that, which has been lacking this year. And again, I think you've alluded very nicely to my point, which I wanted to raise with you, and it's um, on a broader level, stepping back from just from law subjects and looking at the industry, from a wider viewpoint. Do you think that the pandemic and the situation at the moment has expedited some of these digital means, not only to get product to market and perhaps doing more on the e-commerce side, but do you think it's perhaps expedited moves away from physical conventions? Because as you say, there were a lot of digital conventions this year taking the place of the physical ones. And do you think as we kind of go forward, more digital conventions are going to be taking the place of physical ones?
Getting products on store shelves is extraordinarily difficult. I mean,
Yeah,
it's you have to have a critical mass of production numbers. You have to have a critical mass of orders. You have to be able to finance it. You have to have sharp production manufacturing costs. You have to
yeah,
make sure you have margin that you're able to sell to retailers. And then retailers all have, a handbook of booby traps,
yeah, yeah,
markdowns, this, that, da, da, da. It's just
yeah,
it's what retail is. That's how it operates because it
yeah,
wants to move stuff in and out, move stuff in and out. So it's hard for brands to get to retail. It's extraordinarily hard for brands. So if you see brands at Hot Topic or Smith's or, store EB Games or GameStop or any of
yeah,
these companies, they've ran incredible traps and they have some sort of operational competence. to
Right.
get.
Yeah.
It's extraordinarily difficult to get there. So a lot of brands, like let's say, there just are still a lot of ideas out there, guys that have licenses, and guys are making figures, and scale 0 to 100, and price 0 to 2,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So the best place for those guys to go is e-commerce.
Yeah.
So they can, the industry is by and large, pre-order. So it's like, hey, check out my 10-foot tall
Yeah.
cell door.
Yeah.
That's $1,000. Okay, I need 1,000 orders to make this happen.
Yeah.
That might take a year, but
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're able to communicate with the customers directly, not depend on retailers to guarantee a purchase order against it. And
Yeah.
they can make deposits based on their pre-order, and instead of front all the capital of the factory. It's
mate.
like a not a bad way of doing business. It's a pretty good way of doing business. So we do it the old-fashioned way, where we finance these, and pay for inventory and tooling and production, and then we have to ship it, and then we have these extraordinary net terms at these big retailers where you don't get paid for a long time, and you got to flip the capital in and out. It's heavy lifting stuff. So I think a lot of brands that can and when you're looking at Walmart and Target, you're talking like in toy there's 10 shelves total,
right?
And then they've expanded the stores to electronics, entertainment, music, but entertainment is one shelf.
Yeah.
Music, it's like half a shelf. So it's like how you still have to compete against Hasbro, Mattel, Lego, all the big 10 companies. So for a brand like the Little Subjects, where we're at, it's McFarlane, Bandai America, NECA, the Little Subjects.
Right.
Or in Funko. But it's not a lot. That's what 5 brands occupy entertainment.
Yeah, true, isn't it? Yeah.
That is it. So like, how do you get all these? There's hundreds of brands out there. How do they find their voice?
Yeah, it's crazy when when you spell it out like that, it does make you think. And I'm now trying to think back to when I was last in a retail, store, and you do think, can you actually list how many brands are actually present? And I think you probably would be surprised, like you say, that there really isn't that many. It might be different lines, it might be different, licenses, but at the end of the day, they're all coming from a handful of brands. So I think, and so I think
it's more competitive because the shelves are shrinking.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that stuck with me when we last spoke last year. Something which really resonated with me because I think at the time where I live, our Toys R Us branch had then shut down, and I think we kind of briefly talked about retail and how that was changing, and we spoke about the shelf space available and how these products that once were huge, they could afford that big shelf space and it was abundantly available. And as you're saying, that shelf space has just declined and got smaller and smaller, and so that really is a smaller pool of, as you say, the big boys who can really finance that space. And so I think a point which I think again. You're doing wonders for me here, because again, you've kind of brought up the point I wanted to talk about, which is fantastic. And it's now that you have, you've got your 10 years behind you, you've got that community that you've built up. There's a culture in place. The pandemic perhaps has expedited the mindset of digital routes, as you say, pre-orders. Has the notion of crowdfunding and perhaps going down that route for specialized releases, has that perhaps creeped up your agenda somewhat? Or perhaps maybe you've given it more thought?
Not so much for us, because we're not doing we're still focused on our built out retail. So we're not doing a lot of D2C, and I don't think we're doing enough specialized projects for that.
Okay. Yeah.
We're not doing the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Where it becomes a really focused interest.
Yeah.
We're kind of the old fashioned models still, just, financing and paying for the products, bringing them over, shipping them to retail and waiting to get paid.
Yeah.
That's the basic stuff. And, we actually have a very small team. So executing D2C it's really nimble. It's like you have to have constant customer service presence. You have to have, extraordinarily nimble fulfillment, which our fulfillment's really nimble. But we're really we do some D2C events, like 3 or 4 a year, and each time it's always a sort of quagmire of complexities because you're not dealing with you're dealing with thousands of customers.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Walmart, we could deal with their one customer inquiry, right?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, exactly. So it's a completely different ball game.
It's really not our bag. I think it's really good for board games and fantasy games and card games and role games. I think that crowdfunding for that genre is extraordinary. And I think crowdfunding for big passion projects is extraordinary. Like I said, if someone was like, "Oh, I'm going to do the GI Joe aircraft carrier," and they'll do it. I mean, Hasbro did a crowdfunding on Galvatron.
Well, this is the thing. They, Hasbro particularly, I think, when it comes to crowdfunding, I think they're now becoming synonymous with it. Obviously, through their HasLab initiative, we've had the X-Men Sentinel. We've now got the Razor Crest and the Mandalorian. As you say, the Transformers piece as well prior to those. So, I think we are starting to see that shift, aren't we?
It makes sense because those aren't objects you could bring to retail. So it's like you have.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to what we said about shelf space as well, doesn't it?
Totally. It's like, okay, you have a box that's 3 foot tall and 3 foot wide and 3 foot deep. Well, man, this little space right there at Walmart is worth millions of dollars. And it repeats over and over and over. It flips all the time. So when you do that, you shrink the value of the space.
Yeah, mate.
It's just one object. Now this little space that turns millions of dollars is now that turns hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
So, that's the disconnect. There's, Hasbro doesn't have a Toys R Us to put huge box toys on the shelf.
Yeah.
Walmart's, again, 10 shelves. Everything's kind of has to be small and compact, and there's got to be a range there. So Hasbro, I get it. They have the fan base, and they have they own 1984 to 86 for people. They own it. Like, straight out,
Yeah.
They're the the wielders of magic for people that hark to those years.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So, it makes sense why they would do this crowdfunding, because the passion's there, the critical mass is there to do it.
Yeah, all those points being met. Yeah.
And the brand recognition is there. So it's like, they're Hasbro's publicly traded company.
Of course, like you say, they've got all those things kind of firing off in the background in their favor. Okay, so we've kind of danced around it. We've alluded to it. We've spoken about it in dribs and drabs. But of course, the main crux of everything today is to talk about Best Action. So we've got the elephant in the room out of the way. The pandemic, that's done. That's the heavy stuff done. Now we can really plow on, with the fun stuff. So for those obviously, following our platform, we have obviously conveyed your press release onto our platforms. We've shared the images. We've shared all the key information. But just if you could very quickly, for those who have missed that information, what is Best Action and what are the real key takeaways from it?
Best Action is our action figure disruptor, 1/15 scale. It's more inspired sort of by Japanese toy construction as on the American toy construction side. So 31 points of articulation. Some of the new figures have 33 points of articulation.
Wow.
But at a $15.99 price point USD, which is, our competitors that are bringing a little bit less are around $20. So it's, we have the sharpest price. We got the most assortment, and we're giving you tons of detail, tons of play, tons of features, tons of accessories. And that's what it is. It's a world of 1,000 action figures across, anime, TV nostalgia, 80s cartoon, sci-fi, and, movie. And so that's what it is. Nutshell. And so it's like you get Napoleon Dynamite hanging out with Lightning from Big Trouble in Little China.
That's the thing. That's another thing I wanted to talk to you about is the eclectic mixture that you have, the mixture rather, when it comes to all of your licenses. Before we get there, I just wanted to ask you, in relation to Best Action, where did that journey begin? As we've said previously, 10-year anniversary, 2019, your vinyl series, and that's very much as you say, the culture that you've developed. So where did the kind of jumping off point happen when you kind of actually started to look at another line, and where was that for you?
Well, I mean, we're creative, so we're product developers, so we're always thinking of doing other things.
Yeah.
The idea is about expansion. It always sort of bothers me when like artists paint the same picture over and over again, and it happens a lot in pop surrealism. The kind of character
Right.
ad nauseum. It's like become Picasso. Like change it out.
Yeah.
Doing stuff, keep growing. Keep adding.
Right.
Just don't do the same thing over and over and over again. So
Right.
that's always been my sort of MO of not wanting to do the same things. Sometimes by doing it, and sometimes feeling stale and not challenged. So, action figures, we have a lot of experience making small deformed action figures. So, okay, making, on model action figures was like a natural evolution, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then also we wanted to open the tent up to our creative capabilities. So action figures is a good way to bring more people into the conversation because it's more digestible sort of product category. When you get the Kid Robot and the Tokidoki and some of these boutique, sort of categories, which a lot of the little subjects sort of kind of belongs to, but was actually in Walmart and Target where those other brands weren't.
Yeah.
Or a little bit more mainstream in visibility, but it's still niche, it's still boutique. So it's like, okay, well, let's open this up, bring more people into our creative energies, and what better way to do it by a kick-ass action figure at it? Price,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's the thing, and it comes through, in the images that you've shown so far for the figures, and the press release as well. So all of that is coming through, as you say, the creativity and carrying, I guess your ethos, as you say, is a creative house essentially, and just applying that to a different market stream. So we have touched on retail environments previously, and I wanted to kind of just quickly revisit that in relation to your current way of engaging with your collectors on the vinyl front. Now, we've said previously, there's chase figures. There's a rarity structure in place, which again it encourages that notion of popping to the local store and seeing what's my branch got in. Maybe they've got the rare figure, digging through and seeing what you can chance upon. Are there any elements of that you are looking perhaps to bring to Best Action in how you encourage that sort of behavior, or is this going to be something, a beast all of its own?
Yeah, I think it's made for everybody. So it's not, we just don't want to focus to guys ripping through pegs and tossing half the stuff to the side.
Yeah.
We
know all too well. Yeah.
Yeah, this is let's not destroy the figure sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
Character and buy it.
Yeah.
So it's more of it. Again, the price point's really sharp, so it opens up to a lot of people. So it's not so just solely third market sort of concentration. It's everything. I mean, we'll throw in variants and things like that, but it's nothing as specialized as the action vinyls. I mean, there's editions of 1 in those things. There's editions of 2. There's editions of 28. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So we're not really doing that with this. It's like we'll have variants. Sometimes retailers will have their own colorways and things like that. So there's lanes to go to, but it's by and large a program for everyone. From kids to dads. That's kids and dads, girls and moms, whoever is into action figures and has fun playing with them. That's who it's for.
Well, I mean, that's brilliant because again, I think you're employing your clairvoyant powers, because again, that was my point, which I was going to bring up, is about variants and whether that was something that again was kind of on the cards, down the line. Again, it's a tool which is being used, all the more increasingly with companies. Again, looking at someone like Hasbro, obviously Funko been doing it for years as well with the pop vinyls. So it's an established trend to, as you say, either introduce retailer variants or have them through your own e-commerce channels. So that is something then that you would look to introduce, down the line, some kind of variants to kind of, as you say, yes, you're presenting this very much as a line which is for everyone, but at the same time, we know that collectors will throw themselves into a line if given the opportunity. So there will be some opportunity to kind of go the extra distance, will there, with variants?
Well, I think variants are just part of action figure culture too.
Of course, yeah.
Like we have a Naruto, Kakashi, we have Slash, we have an Angus, we have a Gene Simmons, and we have Spike Spiegel variants already happening.
Right. Okay.
So we're already working on those, and then some of those will go to the same retailers, some of those go to other retailers.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, it's like we're adding 2 new heads for Spike, so you'll see additional heads. We're doing it for Naruto too and Kakashi. So there's some cool stuff. Slash adding like a handkerchief. A lot of the rock line we're adding. I don't know. Maybe I have it behind my computer here, a printout, but yeah, like a little rock stage. They'll have their logos.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah.
So that package, so you're looking at Slash,
Yeah, let me enlarge you so you can have a little look.
Behind there will be a little stage.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and again, see, from my point of view as a commentator, like looking at this, that seems to be, a method of introducing variants, which is something which is going to be, very well received from collectors, because all too often when it comes to variants, sometimes then perhaps not employed in the most creative ways. So to hear you guys doing accessories and extensions, as you say, different head sculpts as well, again, I think it speaks to that culture which you impressed on me when we first met, and again, it comes through in everything I've seen you guys do since. It's that culture where collectors come first and creativity, because yes, variants are part of collecting in general, but at the same time, I think there is in some cases a cynical attitude towards it, because some companies can take perhaps the low road and it is just a very a slapdash variant. They just change the paint here, or they don't perhaps go the distance. But from what you're saying here, from what you're showing, it looks to be like you are really kind of taking that high road, putting the collectors first, and offering a lot more when it comes to your variants.
Yeah, we're offering cool stuff. And the other thing too, if you're a collector, we kind of made these so they look like, they really look great on your shelf.
I'm a huge fan of box art, which in and of itself has personality. It brings something to the product. I'm a bit of an odd collector. I'm fastidiously minting box about some things, and other things I'm more than happy to take out. But I think the mint and box thing for me as a personal collector, the packaging is a big part of that. For me, I'm a creative in what I do naturally, and so I look at the box art as an extension of the brand's creativity. So as you're saying there, just the ability to have all these boxes lined up and to have that really eclectic mix, and you're going from Napoleon Dynamite over to rock legends, over to anime characters, and to have that, as you say, that Smash Brothers kind of ethos right at the core, I think it's fantastic, and it really adds value to what you guys are doing.
Totally. You could actually index them on your bookshelf.
Exactly that. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that idea was to bring the collectors in who like to collect boxes. So we did do that on purpose. So if you put them on shelf, it looks like a bookshelf. That's like books on shelf. But yeah, to the point of companies mailing it on the variants and things. The trouble is variants are very difficult to execute at a factory level, because factories don't like small run stuff. It's a lot of labor. They charge a lot of money and things like that. So brands that are super sharp on their budgets, they can only exceed X amount, which all these brands are that. I mean, the reason that the original He-Man, bodies all have the same boots when they're not wearing boots and things, is because they didn't want to change out the tools. Also, they just spray painted over them. It's funny, the 80s get a lot of tolerance, but once you 2010s, collectors lose all their tolerance. Really tolerate that stuff from the 80s.
Yeah.
Those awful Star Wars sculpts and Star Wars
Yeah,
decade.
true.
Han Solo
Like
just got like 2 dots for eyes, you know?
yeah. Well, see, I can remember some of the Power of the Force stuff where like Luke and Han are really hench, like they've just stepped out of a gym, like an 80s workout style. And as you
Yeah,
say, I think times have changed when it comes to, perception. So, again, for me, from a position of, commentating on this, that fills me with a lot of excitement, to see that from you guys. I'm sure it will excite again your existing collector base. And again, for those of you perhaps, like I say, who perhaps haven't been with you on that journey, who are only now kind of coming into this fresh, I think that's going to be, welcome news. And again, an extension of that point and how you interact with the community. One of the ways which you've done that, I think, in a way which I haven't really seen from others, is your kind of separate ecosystem of prototype figures and how they form an ultra high end, kind of highly sought after, ultra rare aspect of um, the vinyl series. So I just wondered, is that something which you'd like to perhaps be able to offer, maybe at conventions or maybe at those kind of fan events? I don't mean perhaps at retail, but would you like to be able to kind of offer that same level of prototype experiences that are just one off at conventions, let's say?
we do. I mean, I was like, I've been known to throw things out to crowds at conventions. So
Yeah,
throw it out or run a contest or do something. But they're all, we don't have a stake in it, so we don't put any value to it. We give them away.
yeah.
So it's like they're not for sale by us. They're always associated with a contest, with a giveaway.
Yeah.
And the reality is they were our trash.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's true.
We have to look and see where the issues with the mold, the tools are, and tolerance issues, durometer issues, flow lines, gates, flashes. It's
Yeah.
really for us just to study to see, how to improve the tooling sets, really.
Yeah.
Apparently it became a part of the historical value of what ends up being a final product. That's the way fans look at it.
Yeah.
It's been pressed, and so forth, because it's been pressed, there's a value to it.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I'd throw these things away for years.
Yeah.
Black, and I had no use for them, so I just throw them in the trash.
Yeah, of course.
Until like a collector came up to me and was like, "Hey, like fans really like this. Can I have some?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure."
Yeah.
The next thing you know, it's like $300 on eBay, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah, they do. That's the thing. Again, before when I was kind of doing my initial research last year, that was what struck me. I couldn't believe, how that had taken hold and how sought after they've become. And I'm still very much in a lot of the Facebook groups, for the vinyl series. And again, it's a regular fixture, to have that kind of, as we talked about earlier, that kind of, third party marketplace all around, the prototypes. And again, I think, if nothing else, I think it just speaks of, as you say before, that culture that you guys have developed, where it's collector centric. They are really the heart of everything that you do, even in ways it appears that you didn't intend. As you say, your trash has literally become, treasure, even on a financial level, because some of these things I've seen go for absolutely astronomical prices.
Yeah, and we have no idea. We make things because they're cool. Like
Yeah.
the 28 thing was an accident,
Yeah.
just purely an accident. And
Yeah.
like we messed up on a figure, and only 28 were done the right way.
Right.
And
So that's the story. Wow.
it was like a variant that was like edition in 99, and 28 were done correctly. The rest were done incorrectly.
Right. Okay.
So it's called like Club 28. And then
Yeah.
so, sometimes not so much thought goes into it. It's just kind of,
Yeah.
what I collected baseball cards when I was younger, and I had like, rookie cards and things like that. But I've always been a maker of things, right? My concentration's always been on making things. So when if we made something that was an additional 1 or 28, I mean, I had no more expectation that it would sell for $10 than it would sell for $1,000.
Right. Yeah. I got you.
When these things start selling for like a couple grand, I mean, I've heard some things selling for $5,000.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what? Like
That is insane.
Nuts, again, because my expectation is I make it, I hope someone buys it.
Of course, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
That's the base. That's the base expectation or hope.
that's it. That's
Yeah,
it. Man, I really hope people buy this. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
And to me, that value of buying is whatever the retail value is, you know?
yeah,
So I
yeah,
had no anticipation or expectation these things, you know, would sell for beyond $10 or $12 or $14, whatever retailer they bought them
yeah, mate. Yeah,
price for, you know. So when guys buy stuff for $14 and they sell them for $7, to me that makes sense.
yeah,
Because that's what they do at the flea market with Star Wars toys. You know,
yeah. Of course, yeah,
you buy them for $1 a piece.
yeah,
That was the
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. But you know, when I started seeing things like sell for $500 and $700, I'm like, what?
It is, yeah, it is astronomical. Some of the prices that we've seen, but like I say, I think yeah, that's the thing. It is so kind of indicative, as I say, of that culture that you guys present through everything that you do. And another thing I think, which is, again, to your credit, is the way in which you are able to present such myriad of licenses. We've said before with the notion, the Super Smash Brothers using that as the kind of concept, to get that message across. So when we look back at some of the vinyl series, we're looking at licenses that includes things like, Thundercat, particularly a favorite of ours, Street Fighter, Power Rangers, for instance. And now looking across to Best Action, your initial, just to kind of run through it. So you've got Full Metal Alchemist, you've got Cowboy Bebop, you've got Naruto, Kiss, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, Lord of the Rings, Napoleon Dynamite, Big Trouble in Little China, and of course, you've got a list here as well of things that are coming, in the future of that line. One of those coming soon is obviously TMNT, which is a license which is now in both camps as far as you're concerned, with vinyl and with Best Action. So did the Best Action line give you some fresh air as such, so you can kind of tackle new licenses and kind of open doors which maybe perhaps would have been closed before, perhaps?
Well, it's not necessarily close. So there's like ebb and flows. It's like,
Right.
years ago you can give turtles away.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and then all of a sudden everybody wants it again. I mean,
Yeah.
it works that way. It's just like consumers work the same way.
Yeah.
They look at what's hot, and they all jump on it. As soon as it starts going off, they all jump off it, right?
Yeah.
So Turtles had that. I mean, Transformers. There are lean years on Transformers.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
nobody wanted to touch Transformers. And
Yeah.
then there are hot years on Transformers. I think Star Wars is kind of going through that thing right now, where it's like, we're off Star Wars. A lot of people like that. But give it 5 years, everybody's going to come back on.
Yeah.
It'll come back. That's just how it works. So with TMNT, the same kind of thing. Yeah, but like when people ask about Motu all the time, it's a toy company that owns Motu, just like a toy company, Transformers and things like that. So also, as toy companies have their own plans for these things, they really kind of dial retail back to themselves. Licensing is different. It's like there's no toy company that owns that.
Right. Yeah.
It's owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers' job is to license it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it's like, as long as people want it, it's available.
Yeah.
So that's the point with those kind of things. It's it's not. Sometimes I see comments and it's like there's like these deep-rooted sort of like clandestine conspiracies, and it's really not. I mean, it's really basic. If you look at the genesis of He-Man, how it was made by a bunch of dudes that were drinking scotch at lunchtime. Shit to Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, Conan the Barbarian. Can you drop me a couple models of Conan? We'll call it. Oh, do we have a tiger from something we've already tooled? Oh yeah, okay. Well, the tiger's really big. That's great. That's a big tiger. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how a lot of toy decisions are made.
Yeah.
There's some guys that go a little bit deeper, that really kind of they come from the fan culture, so their decisions are really sort of fan driven, right?
Yeah.
We're artists and creatives, so we could render things a little bit more clearly,
Right.
But if you look at the history of toy is usually done by a bunch of guys in baggy suits and mustaches, like having, scotch and whiskey at noon,
Yeah.
just trying to sell stuff and get home to their wives.
Yeah, very
That's
true.
it. I don't even
Yeah,
know if
yeah.
they have any of those toys in their house.
No.
It becomes something posthumous after it became something. Then everybody sort of like
Yeah.
puts more meaning in it than it really deserves.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
You know,
no, totally. And that's
but
that's
yeah,
the thing, isn't it?
is kind of in ebb and flows as things kind of come in and come
Yeah.
out. Turtles has a new wave of interest, and it just so happens fits with Best Action.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's Turtles. It's not a Turtle statement. We're not trying to be playmates and go, here's 50 renditions of Turtles and
Yeah.
play sets and this and that. Da, da, da. It's an action figure. It's character in the action figure world. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So something that I wanted to just kind of dial in on, I suppose, as we kind of near the end of the discussion in relation to Best Action, and that is the price point. And again, something which I think has kind of been put under not the spotlight, but I think with how things are right now, I think when it comes to how much dispensable money we have as individuals and collecting as a hobby and how essential that is to our lives, especially actually as you said at the beginning, lockdowns and restrictions on our financial situations. As you say, Best Action is going to retail for $15.99. So how important was it for you to achieve that price, under that $20 mark? And I think doubly so, how important is it now considering, that extra squeeze on people's kind of, income?
Extraordinarily important. Not only that, but also the size of it, the 1/15 scale, because it's
Yeah,
like space is in mind. It's like as most people sort of urbanize, spaces get smaller.
yeah,
It's spaces in mind. So if you're a toy collector, three figures shouldn't take up your entire shelf.
yeah, yeah,
Like get more bang for your buck and have more of
yeah,
a and have more of a range. And the other side is, yeah, if you could break a 20 and still have enough for coffee and a hamburger or a Coke and a hamburger, you're in good shape.
yeah, yeah, very
That's,
true.
yeah, it's like, it's very cognizant of what that collector has in their pocket, very cognizant of the space that they have available that they can display or play in. I mean, that's the whole magic of this thing.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was not always better. It's, I think, being dialed in, being intuitive is better.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and again, I completely agree. I think, yeah, well, like you say, having being able to break a 20, um, and have something left over, I think is something which perhaps we don't see all that often. Now, yes, of course, we are comparing different scales, and therefore they are naturally going to sit at different price points. But even so, I think there's, I think again, it's one of the reasons why this line is exciting to us, as commentators looking in on it, because like you say, you break a 20, you've still got change left afterwards, so all the better essentially. So I think just to kind of bring things in, we're now kind of at the hour mark, so I just wanted to kind of reach a point of conclusion, and I wanted to kind of ask you. I think maybe we've answered this already, just generally through our conversation, but how do you feel the introduction of Best Action has changed your brand story, or has it changed your brand story and your outlook, or is that still the same? Are you still the same loyal subjects? Essentially, I think is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, it's you can't really change the people, right? So
Yeah,
it's like the attitudes, the personality, and the ethos is always the same. So
yeah,
whatever made Action Vinyls is the same that made Best Action is the same that made For Keeps, which is a girls' fashion doll line that is, it's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
It's same story. It's the same people that make the same stories. So the brand as a whole is a brand that wants to be diverse and inclusive. That's what the
right,
brand wants to be. So our personality and our choices support that. Inclusivity means much more than exclusivity. So it's
yeah,
about how do we get our creative voices out to as many people as possible.
yeah,
Like, you know, Green Day never inspired to only play Gilman Street in Berkeley in front of
yeah,
every night.
yeah,
They,
yeah,
in your backyard, they played Milton Keynes to 500,000 people,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So whatever, 300,000, whatever it was. So they always had that in mind. They said, okay, our music it might have generated from this Berkeley punk scene. What we believe music is for everybody.
Yeah.
So that genuity is what fans came, the genuity and that sort of melodic ear candy, and writing good songs, being a pretty good live band is what brought people into that 100 capacity, Gilman Street room.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
It's also the same thing that brought 500, 300,000 people out to Milton Keynes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have that same idea, it's like our voices, we do things because we love it. Obviously if it's solely about making a buck, it's, there's better industries to be in.
Yeah. Ultimately. Yeah.
So, we love it, and we love creating. We love being in the sandbox, and we like creating in the sandbox. And so I think everything distinctly does have a TLS personality, regardless for keeps. If it's Best Action, if it's Superama, which, can you see it? Wink.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
Iron Man's box.
Yeah,
it's we got these alien Easter eggs coming to Walmart.
Oh, awesome! Wow, that looks cool.
They're painted like Easter eggs, and they have like little, army style.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
Pretty rad. Those are going to
be
Walmart and Easter.
Oh, nice. Okay, look forward to seeing more of those then. Yeah, cool.
Totally. So we like just to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's the culture of the brand. So, as long as we have an audience, as long as people will, we're as good as people back.
Yeah.
We keep rolling,
And that's the thing. I think that's very much what's come through, not only just in our conversation today, but again, through the initial images that you released of the product. Again, I think it does speak of that continuation. Like you say, it's the same people, it's the same platform, it's a continuation of all of your ethos, I suppose, at the heart of everything that you do. So I would just say, the old traditional ending line to wrap up, I suppose, for those who perhaps have missed out on all the other information, and they want to now head out, they have some interest in this line, where can they now go to pick up Best Action?
Finally, they're on shelves at Walmart. There's. I made a very bold prediction about 2 weeks ago. I guarantee you they'll be on shelf this weekend. Right. But now you can see it in the group. People finding it and buying it. So
fantastic.
So go to Walmart. If you're UK guys, click distribution. Click UK. I think Smith's will have them.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
The sort of like GameStop equivalents or those stores over there. But
mate.
Distribution UK, they're the guys who are carrying the brand there. And
okay, awesome.
More about where those retailers are. But here in the United States, they're available right now at Walmart. We got a good selection coming. Target, Hot Topic should have them on shelf in about a week.
Awesome.
We just started shipping GameStop Best Action, so they're going to have some there. But if you're itching on Halloween, you want to go get something, or itching on November 1st, go to Walmart.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, so as you say, Walmart now, and I can see the dates here that you've listed previously. So, again, that kind of harkens back to our conversation about, some of these retailers and how they operate and the opportunities that perhaps, couldn't come to fruition previously, and as you say, they're now paying dividends, and you are now starting to ship products to them. So all that really is left is for me to say a massive thank you. I really, really do appreciate you kicking off your Saturday, especially Halloween of all Saturdays, with us, spending an hour with us. Yeah. So thank you. We really look forward to seeing more Best Action in hand, and what's to come from you. So all I can really say is thank you to you and to everybody else who's watching. Also a big thank you for stopping by the first of our brand new interview series. So this has been a discussion, really in depth, really a lot of information here to kind of sink your teeth into with Jonathan Cathey, the president and co-founder of Loyal Subjects, who are now introducing their Best Action range of 5-inch figures. So do look for them now on Walmart shelves. As ever, if you did enjoy today's video, please do leave a comment, subscribe to the video. All that spiel. You hear it 1,000 times a day in every other video you watch. It really helps us to support us and keep everything moving along here. So Thanks, everybody, and I will see you again here very soon. Cheers,
Thanks.
guys.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan.